Hey, everybody. Hopefully this is live. I'm trying out a new system right now, mixing Zoom and Facebook live. So I'm looking to see, am I live yet? Am I going out to the world? So if I'm live, let me know that you got this, that you're seeing me here. So hopefully that's showing up. Paul Sterling here. I'm the author of Argue Less, Love More, and I am a relationship and intimacy coach. And today I'm going to talk to you about um, LOL. And it's not laughing out loud, it's the language of love. And so that's what the deep dive is today. I hopefully I can see your comments because I would love to see what you have to say about the language of love and where are you good at it and where do you still need some help? And there are plenty of places I can tell you I still need some help. So let's get going here. I'm going to walk you through this process. This is what we want it to feel like. This is what it should feel like. The happy kid hitting the ball over the net, boom, looks joyous and a piece of cake. And what does it end up feeling like? And I'm speaking from experience. I just went through a painful breakup, and I think, geez, because I'm a relationship coach, I should know better. It shouldn't end up feeling like this, but there was days that it definitely did feel like this. So what I want to do though is I want to give you some tools to help you deal with this whole situation. So when we get it wrong, here's what happens. Neither of us feel heard, understood, or valued. And then what happens is the harder we try, because when we don't feel heard, understood, and valued, what do? We raise our voice, we get our feelings hurt, we use criticisms, we attack, we make demands. And the harder we try, the worse it gets. So, how many of you can relate to that one? So, just let me know if that's something you can relate to. You can make a comment below, give me the thumbs up. I can only see if you're here on Zoom. And to get here on Zoom, just in case you want to join me, if you go to arguelesslovemore.com/Sunday, argue less, love more. So that's like argue less, love more.com/Sunday. It should take you right over here to Zoom and we can interact. If you've got direct questions for me, you'll get my attention there. All right, so here's what happens. Don't feel heard, understood, or valued, and we get desperate. We get desperate. We get triggered and desperate and raise our voice, attack. The harder we try, the worse it gets. We end up tripping each other's triggers. So one person gets triggered and then they trip the other person triggered, and we end up on this downward spiral to hell where there feels like there's constant conflict. It erodes trust and intimacy, and it can take days, weeks, months, or never. Sometimes we never recover from communication problems. And people often say, what's the problem? Well, it's a lack of communication. I said, no, 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 no. Sometimes it's too much of the wrong type of communication. Sometimes when it's not a lack of communication, it's what we're communicating. You know, if you ever gotten in a text war, a lot of times that's too much communication of the wrong type. So that's when we get it wrong. How many of you can relate to that? Just type in a comment below. I would love to hear from you. Let me just check real quick and see if I've got you there. Courageous Love Show is also the other place you can see it. CourageousLoveShow.live. Yay. Just seeing if I can see your comments here. Today is a technological experiment, so please be somewhat patient with me. I am learning how to mix Zoom and Facebook Live so I can get more interaction with you. Yes, there we are. There we go. Love to see your comments. I am typing in a comment here. Comment here, yay. Okay, so here's how it goes. Get it wrong, no one feels heard, understood, and valued. The harder you try, the worse it gets. You get triggered, they get triggered, and then there ends up being this constant battle between the two of you where one's triggering the other, and it takes weeks or months to recover, or maybe even never recover. And part of the reason I understand this is because I have done this. Now, here is the magic. When you get this right and you both feel heard, understood, and valued, what happens is you can meet your partner's triggers, or your triggers get met with courage, compassion, and curiosity. How different would your relationship be? How gentler would you be? Because it's crazy making when you don't feel heard, understood, and valued. You start getting louder and louder and louder. And here, when you do get met with courage and compassion and curiosity is a major thing. Tell me more. I want to know more. What happens is you feel confident if you're able to be met like that and you're fully expressing yourself, or you're able to meet your partner's pain and upset and disappointment. If you can meet it with confidence and compassion and that curiosity thing, then what happens is you know how to repair the relationship. And all relationships are going to need repair at different times. And when you can repair, it builds, yes, your communication ends up building trust and intimacy in the relationship. How many could use more trust and intimacy in your relationship? Boom. You know, they say you teach what you need to learn. And so I'm looking at what are the things that I continue to learn. And this is one of the key things, how we communicate. No matter how much and how many years I've done this, I still have to come back to the basics time and time again. And when your communication builds in trust and intimacy, you can rebound in minutes and sometimes hours, but rebound is really rapid here. It's key. So I'm going to dive into the language of love today. And before I do, I want to get your idea of, let's see, what are some of your biggest problems? So let me see if I can do this. I want to get everybody so that they're making comments in the same place and watching in the same place. So here is a link. Let me see if I can get you all here. So thank you for your patience. Like I said, new technology here. So the place I would love for you to be so that you can make comments is Facebook. Whoa, there we go. So facebook.com/courageous love show. Whoops. Boy, courageous love. This is courageous love show. Sorry about that. /live. There we go. Technology, challenging. Facebook.com/courageous love show, all one word, /live. Then what I'd love is for you to come over here, and if we're all on the same place, you can make comments there. And let's see if we can get it so I can read all your comments and feedback. All right. So how many of you can relate to this cycle right here? Would this make a difference for you if you could both feel heard, understood, and valued? You could meet each other's triggers with courage, compassion, and curiosity. You both felt confident and know how to repair the relationship. Your communication builds trust and intimacy. You can rebound in minutes. Would that make a difference in your relationship? I know it makes a difference in most people's relationship. It is huge. I'm going to give you the big picture and then I'm going to give you some tools. So if you think about this, what I'd love for you to write in is what I'm adding a page here. All right, right here. New page. On this new page, I'd love to get what your idea of communication is. What is the purpose of communication? Why do we communicate? What is it? And why? So this is an oversimplification. What is it? It's a tool. Communication is a tool. And if you think of any tool, tools continue to get refined over and over and over. So, I mean, the first hammer was, or the first thing to drive in a nail was probably a rock, and then maybe a club, and then maybe a hammer. And now we've got, we've got nail guns. So we keep improving the tools to do a better and better job. And what's the job of the tool? Why do we communicate? We communicate mainly to get needs met. And if you think about it, the earlier needs, food, I need food, shelter, water, sex, a lot of that can be nonverbal communication. Now we start talking about feelings. We need a whole new level of distinctions, feelings, needs, requests. This, by the way, is LOL. I should do that in a different color. It's the language of love, not laughing out loud. I know that those two go together, but today we're talking about the language of love. We're not talking about laughing out loud. So here is the big picture to show where everything fits together. This is the roadmap for relationships. Now, just because you have a roadmap doesn't make relationships easy. Relationships are sometimes confusing, complicated, overwhelming, heartbreaking, devastating. I know when I went through my recent breakup, and I'm still feeling the pain of it. It's, you can do everything right and it still can turn out wrong, and it's really tough. So if you want love to last, however long it's going to last, you need three key things. You need availability, capability, willingness. What I want to do is show you the roadmap, and then we're going to take one small part of the roadmap. I want you to get the big picture first. Hopefully this makes sense. So availability, capability, willingness. Are you available? Does that mean you're emotionally available, physically available, mentally available to be in the relationship? If you haven't cleared up the past, it's hard for you to be present and creates no possibilities for the future. So what I'm going to talk today about is the capability part. How capable are you to communicate talking the language of love? So again, I'm giving you, if you can take a picture of this page and post it up on your refrigerator, talk to your partner about it, come back and watch this again and again. This is going to give you the big picture. So in the center, there's three things: availability, capability, willingness. The next set of circles, three more things. What is it? It's your big why. It's your heart set, your skill set, your mindset. Your heart set is all about getting your needs met and taking your needs from feeling like a burden to feeling precious. This right here is LOL. It's the language of love. The language of love is the language of feelings, needs, requests. And we have needs. There's three different areas: friend, partner, lover. So we have needs as a friend, we have needs as a partner, we have needs as a lover. And being able to talk about that, that is the key to getting it met. And there's going to be things, I'm going to talk to you today about things that push people away and things that bring people in. So what it's important to stop doing damage by the way we communicate. And I'm as guilty. Part of the reason I wrote this book, Argue Less, Love More. I grew up in a very argumentative family, and sarcasm was one of the ways we showed love. And if you were winning, you felt like top dog. If you're losing, you felt miserable. But it wasn't a way to create connection and long-lasting love. So here we go. Number one, heart set. Number two, skill set. So when you think about it with your skills, are you unprepared or well equipped? And part of what I do is take people through 90 days, and that 90-day process is to help them go from feeling unprepared to well equipped. And the longer program is 1 to 3 years. And if you think about it, most of you who are on the call, 30, 40, 50 years of doing something the same way, we get stuck in a rut. It's like this deep, it's not even a rut, it's a trench of the way we do things. And so it's how do you clear out that trench and find new ways to do things? And the skills have to do 3 things for you. Number one, help clear up the past. Number 2, help you connect and get present. And number 3, create possibilities for the future. That's what your skills need to do. And there are 7 core skills. We are going to dive into one of them today, which is the communication skill. The last part, so that you just have the big picture here. And I know this is a lot to absorb in a short period of time, especially if you haven't seen me talk about this before. You may want to watch this 3-4 times. What you're looking at is 25, maybe 30 years of research mapped out. So the last part is your mindset. And this I call your ROS. This is like almost everybody here has a cell phone. This cell phone has about 156 little applications on it and one operating system. The operating system runs the show. Your operating system runs your show. And if it doesn't run it right, it will sabotage your relationship. If it runs it right, it will support your relationship. It is made up of your habits, patterns, beliefs. We're not going to get too much into it, but just there are some beliefs that support you, some that sabotage you. Some patterns support you, some sabotage. Same with your habits. So hopefully, if this is making sense, just type in the comments there, makes sense to me. And if I don't get your comments right now, I will get them when I'm done with this call. I will go and check each one of them and I will respond to you, especially if you have a question. I'll try to get back to you right away. All right. And also, I'd love to hear, where are you watching this from? All right, here we go. These are the 7 essential relationship skills. Now, these are not the only skills you need, but these are the basics. And number 1 is all about communication. Is your communication reactive over here, which is combative, collapsing, blame, shame, guilt? No one feels heard, understood, or valued. Over here, it's courageous, it's compassionate, there's curiosity, it's connecting. Both of you feel heard, understood, and valued. This is responsive. This is what I want to talk to you about today. How different would your relationship be if you weren't over here, but you were over here? The problem is that takes work. It's simple, but it is not easy. And it's an ongoing challenge. Next one, getting your needs met. Do your needs feel like a burden or do they feel precious? Are they adored and embraced or do you feel shameful and try to avoid them? I know for years, like my need for intimacy, I have a higher sex drive than most of my partners had in a lot of my relationships. So my needs felt like a burden versus feeling precious. I felt ashamed of them at times and tried to avoid even having them versus feeling embracing them and having them feel adored. So whatever your needs is, sometimes the feminine might have a higher need for communication, and the masculine, I was just listening to a report, I think it's like the men tend to say 2,000 words a day to the feminine saying 8,000 words a day. Now, I don't know exactly where that report was from, but that I've heard that on several occasions. So are your needs met as precious, or are they feeling like a burden? How do you deal with conflicts? Do conflict get resolved, or do they end up getting recycled over and over again? Did they spiral down like I showed at the very beginning? Or do you meet them with compassion and curiosity? Does it bring you closer? Can you relate to this? So let me know if you're relating to that. I'll just zip through these last ones just so that you hear them, and then we're going to dive into some really some tips on how to communicate better using the language of love, LOL. Wounds, we all get wounded. We all get wounded in relationships. Somebody says something, somebody does something, somebody heads off, somebody doesn't take care of your needs, they take care of their own. And if you take it personally, it's easy to get bitter and you build walls. Or you can get better and you can feel it. There's days I don't want to feel it. I don't want to feel the pain. I'd rather numb out, watch Netflix. So can you meet your pain with compassion? Can you feel it and heal it? Can you get better? That's wounds, and part of the way we communicate with ourselves. You'll notice communication impacts all of these. How we communicate decides whether or not this is a safe space to heal your wounds, or if this is a dangerous place and anything you say can and will be used against you. Trust. Is trust broken or built in your relationship? And communication, again, a lot of the ways that trust is made or built is by making and keeping agreements. Do you keep agreements, both implicit and explicit? Do you take care of each other's feelings? If agreements are kept and the words are kept, boundaries are respected, trust is built. If they're not kept, trust is lost. Intimacy. Is intimacy avoided? Is it embarrassing? It's like I've talked to people that have a hard time talking about what they want in the bedroom, what turns them on, what turns them off, how they want their partner to touch them. All of these different things. If you can't talk about it, it's hard for your partner to give you what you want. And there are three shades of intimacy. There's emotional intimacy, physical intimacy, which is touch, cuddles, hugs, foot massages. And the third one is sexual intimacy. So is it avoided or embraced? Does it bring you closer or push you apart? The last one on this list. Now, I'm not saying this list of 7 is the only 7 skills you're going to need. These are the top 7 that I've found that have the biggest impact on a relationship. Starting with, whoops. Wow. Starting with communication, working all the way through. So there we go. This is the last one. Differences. Dealing with differences, decisions, and difficulties. Differences, difficulties, decisions. And especially during COVID and all the rest of this, people have all these decisions, and some of the decisions feel like life and death. Who's going to get vaccinated? Who's not? Are we going to work? Who are we going to go see? Are we going to be out there? Are we wearing masks? We're not wearing masks. How do you make all these decisions? And the decisions make you stronger and bring you together, or do they drive you apart, make you weaker, that something is wrong with each other? All right. So hopefully this is all making sense. Now, stop doing damage. I'm going to write that down somewhere. And then what I want to do is help you find yourself in this simple diagram. The source of your communication. Where are you coming from? And I'm going to give you 3 examples. There are 3 places to come from. There's the lose-win, which is collapsed. And that, by the way, is a picture of a puppy upside down on its back. You know, when the big dog came over to it, he just rolled over on his back and said, I'm no threat. I collapse. You win, I lose. And he did it for a beautiful reason, so it didn't get his butt kicked. Over here, we have the combative person. They have to win. They can't lose. This right down here, and I'll give you an example of this in a second, is the drama line. And depending upon how you were brought up, will tell you what's your pattern here. These are patterns. And my pattern was my elder brother would beat me until I collapsed. So I have a pattern of collapsing. So it was safer for me to roll over on my back and lose and become a martyr and let him win. What I realized later in years, he almost didn't have a choice. I'm not making his abuse okay, but he had to win. He was driven. His dinosaur brain was saying this equals survival. Must win. If I lose, I will die. And if I had the other side, which is if I fight, I will die, because there were so many times that he beat me pretty hard until I basically collapsed mentally and emotionally. And I know that a lot of times for some women that have grown up in abusive households, it's the same pattern. They're stuck in the collapse pattern because it was the safest thing for them to do. Now, it's a challenge for me in relationships because I have the old pattern and I'm reconditioning it. So I want to be up here to this connecting, or another word is courageous. So moving up to courageous. Where are we communicating from? Are we communicating from collapse, lose, win? I'm a martyr. My needs don't matter. Your needs are the only ones that matter. And you can see this with politics. How are the politicians behaving? Is it win, lose? I'm going to beat you at all costs. I'm going to win. Or is it I give up, you automatically win? Or are we being courageous and trying to create something now called win-win? Hopefully this is all making sense to you. And why I'm teaching this is so that you can have something different happen in your life. And I'm going to give you the exact things to do, or some of them, here in a second. But before I do, I want to give you an idea of what the difference it can make. Now, a couple of years ago, this couple, Jesse and July, came to me. They came to one of my workshops, spent an hour and a half with me live in Vermont, and then they wanted to do some one-on-one work with me. There's a 90-day program, a breakthrough series that I do with couples to help them get out of a rut and reconnect and start getting along again. Mostly what I work with is successful couples that still love each other but are having a hard time getting along. So they came to the workshop. July was really excited about working together. Jesse was yes, no. He started with the basic belief that men should be able to figure it out themselves. And finally he said, you know what, I'm in. He got something shifted. He said he's in. We worked together for about 90 days. After that, I contacted them and asked them what they got out of it. Here's what she said she got out of it. I actually got several pages of notes from her. This is just the essence of it. She got back her feminine power and went from feeling like he had all the power and final say to understanding that he wanted to be her hero. He wanted to be her hero and make her happy. Now, that wasn't happening, but this is what she finally got. And now it changed. She was able to use the "can you hear me now" communication process and enter his world so that he felt really heard, understood, and valued. And how do you think that transformed their relationship? Radically. So if this is something you're interested in, just type in the comments, "I want this." We can set up a time and talk about what it takes so that you can have this in your relationship. That gave her more patience, confidence, compassion in a connection with her lover. She was also able to discover which of the top 10 core needs were beneath almost all of her upsets. It's really important to know what your needs are. She stopped taking his masculinity personally and started to understand and enjoy the differences between the sexes. She also got clear on the power of her words. So if that, like I said, if there's something there that really resonates with you, just, "I want this." And we'll set up a time. We'll talk for about 10 minutes and see if and how I can help you. What Jesse got was he stopped taking himself so seriously, started having much more fun. He got to understand the differences between men and women in a way that was empowering for both of them. And we are different. We're equal, but we're not the same. Understanding the difference between the feminine and the masculine is really important. He saw sex as a great indicator of how they were getting along and could tell whether the relationship was in good shape or not. He loved that he was able to enter her world. So they both entered each other's world with that "can you hear me now" communication process. And she felt heard, understood, and valued, and he felt like a hero. If this is resonating with you, I hope it is. Thumbs up. He stopped worrying about what he said and became more interested in what she heard. This is a huge breakthrough for almost any couple that I work with. And I've worked with couples all around the world, from England to India to Australia, Mexico, Hawaii, Alaska. If you've got Zoom, we can work together. Actually, if we've got Zoom and you're committed and you're fun to work with, because the truth of the matter is, if somebody's not committed and not fun to work with, I'd rather go mountain biking. All right. The last thing from them is he loved that they both became aware of the impact of their language and anything that implies bad, stupid, wrong. And they started to lean in and stop using language that blocked open and honest communication. So here we go. I'm going to ask a quick question for you. If you could type in the comments, do you know what that is? What this is? These metal bars going across the road. If you know what those are, and just type that in, and brownie points to whoever gets the right answer. By the way, that is my mountain bike. I love my mountain bike. Now, this is called a cattle grate, and what it does is it blocks the cattle from being able to walk. You put the fence up on either side of it, and the cattle can't walk across it because of the slots. Now, with a bicycle, I can go across it. Let me change the color here. Right here. I can go, if I go across this way, I can go across it, no problem. If I try to go across it this way, big problem. It will wreck my bike. And I'll probably fall on my head. What's that got to do with communication? There are several different ways to communicate. One way to communicate may be a little bumpy, but we get across. The other way wrecks the bike, wrecks the communication. So the whole idea here is I'm going to start with what to avoid and how to tame your triggers. So this is an overgeneralization, part of the work from Stan Tatkin, I think it is, from Wired for Love, and the 3 levels that the brain gets triggered on: alert, alarm, attacks. So alert, you're lying in bed at night, you hear a little bit of a clunk clunk. Your brain goes, huh, pay attention. And you might pull your head off the pillow and you start listening. You do focused listening. Then you hear footsteps. You go into alarm. So in alert, it's like, did I hear something? Is something out there? Okay. So that's the alert. In alarm, is it dangerous? And in attack, it's like we've already answered. There's something out there. It's dangerous. Do I fight? Do I flee? Do I freeze? Do I attack? We've moved what I call into the reptile part of our brain. Now, the problem is if our partner gets triggered, and I've been triggered. I was triggered earlier today. When you're triggered, where are you? You are in the reptile brain. Your options are F, F, F. Fight, flight, freeze. You don't have a lot of options. You don't have a lot of communication skills. All these wonderful communication skills, not available when you're here in this part of the brain. You need to be here in the frontal lobe or in your heart. So the whole idea is, how do you get back into your heart as quickly as possible? And so I'm going to give you a magic sentence. What I'd love for somebody to do is type this into the comments when you get this magic sentence. So before I give you the magic sentence, what I want to do is tell you the power of it. This can turn a reptile, and I wish I should have a picture, is into a kitty cat. So reptile into kitty cat. Would that be useful to be able to do that? It is so powerful. And I've had people use it on me, and I teach this. And here it is. These are the exact words to use, and you can modify them. But first, try these. Honey, what do you need to feel safe right now? What do you need to feel safe right now? What happened? Just listen for a second. Find yourself agitated. Remember some scenario, something happened, whether the dishes weren't done or meals weren't made or something on a much grander scale. A check got bounced, a person got sick, and somebody got triggered, and they were in their reptile brain. Whoops. They were in their reptile brain right here. And it came out as they were ready to attack. And what you can do, rather than defend yourself or communicate, try to logicalize them out of their pain, you can just go, honey, what do you need to feel safe right now? And what that does, it acknowledges somebody's pain and their fear, and it helps them calm down and their nervous system calm down. And the whole thing just is, they go from attack to feeling safe. I can feel it in my own body, from attack to feeling safe. What do you need to feel safe right now? And what you can do is, if you're by yourself, you can ask, what do I need to feel safe right now? And calm yourself down. Because when we get triggered, what happens is, as our emotions go up, our intelligence goes down. So one of the greatest languages of love is the language of compassion and understanding, to be able to check in, to, let that person know how their feeling matters to you. Now, I recently had an upset, and the person I was talking to told me that I was being ridiculous. And what I noticed is that did not calm me down. That actually accelerated my emotions. I felt like I needed to fight to be heard. I needed to raise my voice, or bold my text, as it actually heard was on it all in a text. That, and so it's like that challenge. Do I feel met and heard? If somebody cares about my feelings and needs, I start to calm down. I don't need to use my dinosaur brain. I start to use my head or my heart. So, and I'd love to hear, is this making sense to you? So, going all the way to the beginning, one of the only reason we do anything is to meet a precious need. One of the most important tools that we have in getting our needs met is communication. And as our needs start to expand, we need to expand our communication tools and our communication abilities, and understand our feelings, needs, and requests. That is really the language of love: feelings, needs, requests. Now, how many of you speak more than one language? How many of you speak 2, 3, 4? I'd love if you could just type in how many languages. 1L, 2L, 3L. I traveled around Europe, and a lot of times people speak 4 and 5, maybe even 6 different languages. And it's mind-boggling to me. I'm blown away by it. I speak 3 languages. You speak probably at least 3 languages. They're not the same, no. I mean, well, the 3 languages we speak are the same. We speak the language of the head, the language of the heart, the language of the hurt. The language of the head is the language of logic. And it uses the same words. The head, the heart, and the hurt sometimes use the same words, but use them in very different ways. Hopefully this is making sense. When we're in our head, we're thinking, we're trying to understand. This is a world of right, wrong. Knowledge is key. A lot of times people feel safe in their head. They don't feel this. They feel this is dangerous. So what we want to do, though, is when we're communicating, especially if we're feeling vulnerable, we want to move from the head down into the heart. So we're either speaking from the head or the heart or the hurt, or we're listening from. When we're speaking, we're using words like, tell me, Friday, what was that? Dragnet, the TV show. Give me the facts, just the facts. It was a police show many, many, many years ago. I'm dating myself. The just give me the facts. That was what? From the head. When we're in our heart, we don't care as much about the facts. We care about the feelings. I used to be engaged to someone who had a photographic memory. Arguing with her was impossible because she had all of the facts and had them in the right sequence and order. And I didn't care about the facts. At that point, I cared about my feelings and the connection between us, or the lack of connection. So sometimes we're speaking from our head, sometimes from our heart, sometimes from our hurt. It's important, if someone is speaking from their head, from their heart, that's the language they're speaking. So when you're listening, what you're listening for is, change colors here. So you're listening for feelings, needs, requests. That's what we want to hear when we're listening from our heart. What is my beloved feeling right now? What are they needing? Especially what are they needing to feel safe? What's their beautiful request? And a lot of times there can be a complaint. You're always late. That's a complaint. Underneath that complaint is a beautiful request with feelings and needs. You're always late turned into a request. It's like, wow, I work so hard at preparing dinner and I'm really needing to contribute and I'm needing connection and intimacy around the dining room table. Would you be willing to be on time? Would you, and if you're going to be late, would you be willing to call me? So there is a precious need in there and this beautiful request. And the challenge is it's vulnerability. When I grew up in my family, vulnerability was weakness. So I'd love for you to put vulnerability as is weakness or vulnerability is strength. What is your current belief about vulnerability? All right. So what I want is relationships where vulnerability is seen as strength. And if I'm speaking from my heart, I get heard by their heart. The last one, and then we're going to kind of wrap it up, is when we're coming from our hurt. So here it's all about reason, here's all about relating, here's all about reacting. And when we're coming from our hurt, we're afraid of loss, we need to protect ourselves. Safety is everything. If I don't feel safe, I'm looking for who is the enemy, who's the ally. This is so critical because a lot of times, if we get really triggered in our reptile brain, friends, family, loved ones can end up looking like the enemy. They can end up looking like where danger is, and I need to either get away from them or protect myself from them. So the whole idea here is to get back up into your heart, because down here, vulnerability is the enemy. Up here, vulnerability is the enemy also. Knowledge is the key. So if I want, I need to be the person with the most facts. That's what we did growing up. That's what made us feel safe in my household, because vulnerability was dangerous. So that's the basic overview of what I'm going to cover today. These are the 10 top needs that we're all trying to get met. And you can get, if you want the slides, let me know, send me a note, and if enough people ask for the slides, I'll get you a copy of these slides so you can go back through them. There's a lot to cover here. But the first one is about certainty and trust. That's the first need that we have. We need to have certainty and trust. Uncertainty and variety, significance, priority, love and connection, growth, contribution, emotional intimacy, physical intimacy, sexual intimacy, attraction. What we're trying to do is be able to notice our needs, name our needs, negotiate our needs. It's all about getting your precious needs met. So what I'd love to see is, what did you get from today as we wrap this up? If you could type that in the comments, that would be awesome. So I'm closing right now. And this book, I'm about to tell you how to get a free copy of this book if you want it. Argue Less, Love More. If you go on Amazon right now, and that's the best way to get it, is on Amazon. There it's $19.97 plus shipping. So you'll probably spend $25 on it unless you're an Amazon Prime member or something like that. It's number one in was number one in counseling, couples and family therapy, number one in marriage, number one in healthy relationships, number one in dysfunctional relationships. I didn't even know that was a category. My video, been seen at this point 6.1 million views. This is about sacred sexuality and communication in the bedroom. So if this is something that you want to transform your life, you want a breakthrough, one of the things you can do is schedule a 15-minute call with me to see if and how I can help you and if we're a fit to work together or not. And it takes about 15 minutes. I get to see what kind of problems are going on, where are you now, where you want to go, what's in the way, and I get to figure out whether or not I would enjoy working with you. Because I only take on a limited amount of clients, and that's why I think I get such a good success ratio. I'm picky about who I work with. The second part is you get to find out whether I'd be any fun for you to work with. So to find out about that, just go to, let's see, here we go, magicrelationship.net/clarity and schedule an appointment. It will be right there. Now, I said I'd tell you how to get a free book. If you go to magicrelationship.net/free book, you can get a free book there. It's a PDF of it. It will ask you for your name and email, and I will send you periodic notices about upcoming events. I'm dyslexic, ADD, grammatically impaired, so you're not going to see a lot of writing from me. My emails go out only every once in a while. So that's it. Have a great day. Love to hear what you got from today. Remember, we're looking at creating, where is it? Okay, there it is. This is what we're creating here. We're creating lasting love so that you're available, capable, willing. You can work on your heart set, skill set, mindset. You can go right here from your needs feeling like a burden to precious, your skills feeling like unprepared to well-equipped, and your operating system, your mental attitude go from sabotaging you to supporting you. All right. Thank you so much. I really appreciated your time and energy. Leave any comments you want. This is the first time I've done the Zoom to Facebook Live connection, and I'm wanting to see how it worked for you. So if you got any feedback and suggestions, you can leave that in the comments too. Have a great day.